experience itself, understand what love is, what compassion is, and so forth. And what emptiness is about, like one of the qualities is actually about that he understands emptiness, maybe even that he realizes emptiness. So how would you establish that? So that's interesting. So that you definitely would have to go through this phase where you're checking this person. So the actual question was about how do you know that somebody is cured? Yeah. In other words, how is somebody is kind of realized to some extent, yeah, how is free of all the obstacles. And I would say you have no chance. You have no chance to know that. Because for that, like is cured would in the highest state would mean that the other person is a Buddha. Yeah, that's somebody who's cured, a Buddha, or somebody who's liberated from samsara. So we on our level have no means to establish that that person is actually a Buddha, actually is a Buddha. Because only a Buddha can perceive another Buddha as being on this level directly. And in order to reason that this person is completely enlightened, you would have to know all the causes being complete for the enlightenment. So we're far from that. We're not able to understand that. So what you're actually doing is you try to check if that person has these 10 qualities, or at least a big chunk of these 10 qualities. Because these 10 qualities, none of the 10 qualities is that the person is enlightened. Because you couldn't check that. You could not possibly check if this person is enlightened. You're not on the level of being able to check somebody being enlightened or not. Yeah, so somebody being very advanced on the path, then a second person being almost enlightened, and a third person being enlightened. We wouldn't see any difference between the three people. We are far from this kind of level of understanding realization. But that's not necessary either in order to practice Guru devotion. In order to practice Guru devotion, you have to check with regard to these 10 qualities. But I would hold that even with regard to that, you have to know quite some Dharma in order to be able to check that. Another topic is that there is not just a section preliminary to practicing Guru devotion of checking this person if he's a qualified Guru, but there's another section of checking if you are a qualified disciple. And it's not that you are sitting there on a high chair judging as somebody else if he's qualified or not. The question is if you are qualified. So that's an interesting point already. It is not that just anybody can take a Guru. You have to be qualified yourself. And one of the things that it says there is that you have to be able to discern between what is right and what is wrong. So you feel like you know what is right and what is wrong. You know when the traffic light is red, you stop. When it's green, you go. You know what's right and wrong in general. But here we are talking about a quality that will later on be able to discern the advice of the Guru to be in accordance with the Dharma or not. I told you that the Guru is going to give you spiritual instructions and you are supposed to follow them. That's part of the Guru devotion practice. And you need to be able to discern if that advice is in accordance with Dharma or not. That's the right and wrong that you need to know. Otherwise, you cannot practice Guru devotion correctly. So for that, you need to know a lot of Dharma. Again, for me, this is a very clear indication that this is not for beginners. And so forth. So I don't want to sound too discouraging. So therefore, I want to say the following. The actual practice of Guru devotion is that you don't see faults with the teacher. You remember the kindness of the teacher. That's one of the practices. You support the teacher financially. So that's one of the big entrance gates for abuse. Yeah, if this person is not actually qualified, then he can exploit you financially because you're supposed to make offerings. If the person is qualified, let's say you take His Holiness the Dalai Lama as your guru, then it makes only sense that if you can obviously, that you support his projects. You want to kind of participate in the helpful activities of the guru and so forth. Yeah. Then what else? And then there is services like helping with things, like you might even kind of clean room and so forth. So anyway, there is this kind of physical aspects of service. There is remembering the kindness. There is not dwelling on faults by seeing this person as being a guru, therefore as being like a Buddha. So even if we are not qualified to check that person, even because we are beginners, we have no way to even be qualified as a disciple at that time. At the same time, you might be inspired by somebody who's teaching the Dharma to you. And you might receive some kindness from somebody that you haven't checked with regard to the 10 qualities, and you haven't checked if haven't taken as a guru and so forth. And yet you can remember the kindness of that person without seeing him as your guru. And not seeing faults with others is a general Buddhist practice. So you would try to not see faults with the people around you. You would try to not see faults with somebody who's teaching you the Dharma, even if you have not taken this person as a guru. If you feel like this person is doing some Dharma project, you might consider to support this by financial things or by services working in that and so forth. Yeah, so you don't have to enter the guru devotion in order to practice something very similar, which you can start right now. And then there is, from my point of view, less of a danger of being burned by abuse or by being damaged inside by practicing guru devotion without sufficient preparation. Yeah. So again, the actual guru devotion would be like that. You would understand why you would need to rely on a guru, the advantages of that, which includes that you would have a yearning for realization, of Buddhist realizations, like gaining high concentrations, liberation, realizing emptiness, and so forth. Yeah? You would understand what are the qualities that a guru should have and how to check that. You yourself would be somebody who's a qualified student, somebody who has the capacity, for example, to discern between what is right and what is wrong in the Dharma, and so forth. You have understood what the actual practice of guru devotion will be about. And on the basis of all of that, you yourself, and that's all what's going on, you yourself might come to the decision with regard to this person that is inspiring to me, that I have checked for a long time on the basis of my understanding of the Dharma. I, who have this and this kind of qualities and this kind of faults, want to rely on this person as a guru by seeing this person similar to a Buddha, because it will have this and this kind of benefits in my spiritual practice. And then you make a decision. And without this decision, this person is not a guru. This is a very, very interesting, a very, very wonderful example of emptiness. This person, let's say the Dalai Lama is empty of being a guru from his own side. He's only a guru if a disciple relies on him as a guru. It is not because somebody has great qualities that you are forced to rely on this person as a guru. Otherwise, you're a bad Buddhist or something like that, but you don't understand anything about spirituality. It's not like that. To rely on a guru is completely in your hands. It is your decision. And therefore, also, whatever consequence comes from that falls back on you. You did not have to choose this person as a guru. You were asked clearly by Lama Tsongkhapa himself to check that person. You did check this person. And I mean, it's not that you go out on the street and you just take anyone who walks by and you start checking if the person has these qualities. You will already be inspired by somebody, by some practitioner, by some teacher or something. And then you feel like, I would like to rely on a guru later on. I will start to check this inspirational person if it has enough qualities. Obviously, I like the person, I'm inspired, and maybe I feel well with this person, got some useful advice. That's not enough for him to be a guru, but I'm going to check, I take this as a basis. This person might be the one that I will rely on a guru later on, in case I feel like I'm a qualified vessel for that, I'm a qualified student. And then I start checking by going to these teachings again and again, by maybe also asking about other people who know this person, have got teachings in other situations where I was not around. Maybe this person has already disciples that refer to that person as a guru. You can talk with them. why did you do that? Why did you choose this person as guru and so on? So you start to investigate. And as I'm saying, you're not doing this with just anybody somewhere, but somebody that's already inspirational to you. Yeah. So that's all in your hands. You are doing the checking. You feel inspired by this person. You have understood what's the benefit of doing this kind of practice. You also have understood what is the practice, including, and then you make a decision. And the moment you make this decision, literally it says, when you go to a teaching of that person with the attitude, this one is my teacher, this one is my guru, and then you get teachings, you get so-called 4 lines of teaching. By that, the person becomes your guru. By that, you don't have to knock at the door of this person and say, like, would you like to be my guru? That's not the question. It has nothing to do with the person. It is your decision to see this person now as a guru. That person is going to do what the person does. It's not going to change anything. It is your practice to now see this person as a guru. You treat this person as if it is a Buddha. You're not going to see any faults anymore. You're going to meditate on the kindness of this person. You're going to put the advice into practice. You're going to do all the instruction. You do your utmost to put the instruction to practice while staying vigilant if this is in accordance with the Dharma. If it is not, you will respectfully express to that guru that for the time being you cannot do that. You don't understand it, and you want to, for the time being, not do that. It's this kind of practice. And so forth. Yeah, so you still are in charge to some extent of how you react to what the guru is teaching you. But that's the kind of practice. It's very advanced. It's very, very strong. And you would visualize this guru in practices of guru devotion. You would visualize this guru and make request prayers. Say, please bless me in this practice and so forth. You try to get inspiration on this guru. Definitely one of the big benefits of relying on the guru would be that you have an actual living example of the Buddha Dharma in your world. Yeah, the Buddha Shakyamuni, we have his life story, we have stories about past masters and so forth. And all of this can be inspirational, but yet it has a certain ring of being an interesting story. But to have an actual embodiment, a living person that you have checked and that you're really kind of inspired by, and you see the good qualities, that has a very different effect. And it has, for example, the effect that you really, really feel like it's possible. All these things that are talked about, all this realization, all these transformations that are talked about in the text, they are possible. I have a living example right here. That's very inspirational. Obviously, this is going to be a big boost for your practice. There's no doubt about that. Then if you put into practice this correct Dharma that this teacher is teaching to you, and that he's teaching correct Dharma, you know, because you have checked him before, right? You are able to discern between what is right and what is wrong in the Dharma, and you have checked this person if he teaches correct Dharma. So if you put into practice his Dharma advice, obviously you're gonna get better because you actually put the refuge, the Dharma, into your own life, and so forth. Yeah, that's it in a nutshell, I guess. You know, I know. So there's a lot to be said about this. Like my main point is really this. I think many people read the Lamrim and they read that guru devotion is the first point, and they want to tick the box. So they take a guru to be able to continue to the next topic. It's not like that. Guru devotion is a complete topic in itself. There is many things that the Buddha, that Alama Tsongkhapa, for example, is teaching about this. There's a lot to be reflected upon. There's a lot to be clarified, to be explored, and so forth. Yeah. And then, of course, what adds to the situation is that here in the Mahayana, you will, in the Tibetan Mahayana, you will probably not just meet a guru or a person that could be your guru, but you will meet a tantric guru. And that one is even more to be checked, and is even more to there's different sets of qualities that this person has to have that you need to check if this person has these qualities in order to rely on this person as a tantric guru. Yeah, so there's differences in the Vinaya, on the Hinayana level, with regard to a guru, in the Mahayana, in the Sutta Mahayana, and in the Tantric Mahayana. So this is a big topic. There's a lot to be explored here. And I think I really would like to invite you to take this topic not lightly, but take your time to understand this topic, to explore this topic, And again, I want to state that I know people who have been harmed by not checking the guru beforehand, relying on somebody with the wrong understanding what guru devotion is about, and then being abused in different ways. I guess you just have to go to the internet, you will find stories like that, quite some. So be careful, but don't turn away from it either. Kind of start checking today. if you understand the quality. But anyway, this is actually a whole different subject. Yeah, it's interesting that there's, I think there's an actual module in the Discovering Buddhism series on how to rely on a guru. But it is interesting that this topic, this question comes up here in Refuge, because indeed it is very closely related. Yeah. So the thing is that with the Buddha Shakyamuni, you can actually access his qualities by way of checking the teachings. Because if you understand how the teachings are flawless and how they're really kind of making sense, and one thing connects with the next thing, and the whole thing is a complete path, then you can generate a great respect for the one who is the source of that. The guru that you meet today is not teaching like that. He's not teaching a new Dharma. He's repeating what the Buddha Shakyamuni said. So there's a difference there. You cannot just say that by what he's teaching, therefore he's an enlightened being and he teaches from experience and so forth. Anyway, I think I'll leave it there because we're already way over time. Even Marius is leaving now. So, yeah. What's going on? I have some prayer flags in the entrance. That's nice. Right. I don't know. I mean, shall I touch on this other question or shall we leave it there for today?
We'll leave it.
We're gonna leave it. Okay, good. That's a clear statement. All right. So how do we go on from here, actually?
So next is discussion group next week. In 2 weeks, Venerable Gendun will come and he will teach about refuge. And we will see in 3 weeks if you are still available. We continue with establishing a daily practice.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. So that's wonderful. So we come to this topic, establishing a daily practice, and that's what Marius originally suggested to me as the next topic after the summer. And I said to him, you know, today to establish a daily practice means that you have some things clear about the Buddhist world. You have something clear about reincarnation, about karma, and so forth. And one of the things in the daily practice is definitely that you will go for refuge. Yeah, so therefore I said to him, like, let's have some general Buddhist topics before that, and have something on refuge before that, because that's going to be part of the daily practice, right? So that's coming up next. That's wonderful. Yeah, we see what we do there. I have to admit that I was talking about this whole topic of refuge a little bit loosely. So now you have Venerable Gendun coming. So there is a lot of things to be asked more technically about refuge, and especially there is so-called if you would take refuge. So you can take refuge either simply by in your heart, that you simply see the Buddha as such a refuge and want to rely on this Dharma. But there's also a refuge ceremony that you can do with maybe Rubina Korten did it when she was there, I'm not sure, or with the Lama and so forth. Anyway, when you have taken refuge, there's certain refuge trainings. Yeah, so this has to do with, just to give an example, if you take refuge in the Buddha, then you would not take refuge in some kind of worldly gods. Yeah? Like in India, this would mean having taken refuge in the Buddha, you would not take refuge in Brahma or Indra or Shiva or Vishnu or something like this, because from a Buddhist point of view, they are themselves stuck in samsara. They're just one form of rebirth, so they cannot help you out of samsara. They are themselves lost in samsara. So that kind of thing. So there is some trainings there which are very interesting, and I would encourage you to ask Venerable Gendun about it. If you could say something about it, if he's there with you, then you have much more time and several sessions and so forth. So please do that. And then we see each other, what, in 3 weeks, is that?
Yes, in 3 weeks.
Okay, wonderful. Have a good time until then. Keep practicing. All the best.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.